So today we are going to be working on the invoice page. So we worked on the locations, we worked on the countries, we worked on the states, and we also worked on the clients. And I recommend we just add one more client so that we have two, because we are going to be needing clients to be able to work with the invoice. So let me just add anything, my name, and anything here as well. Select the state, province, whatever it is. Okay, so mobile, All right, so now I'm going to add one more client record, and now we have two client records right here. If you are joining me for the first time, please hit the subscribe button, and also if you have any challenges following my lessons, please let me know in the comment box or try to reach me. I'm going to help you solve it immediately. And if you are joining for the first time, please go back to the first lesson in this series and download all the resources you need, all the pieces of code, so that you'll be able to follow seamlessly, and it's really going to be interesting for you. So now let's go to invoices. If I go to accounts, of course we have invoice status. We did it when we worked on common objects. Now let's go to invoices, and it's empty. All right, so let's go to the page, and now I'm going to go to, first let's go to the models, and let's look at how the invoices looks like. This is the invoice model. So today we are going to also be talking about dates. Yes, so basically if you have a date, you need to specify the date time format. In this case, we have date time format to be year, Y in the four places. That is, it means that you need to write out the full year of the date, 2018-2018 completely, and the month is going to be 2 letters, and the day is going to be two characters, and these 2 characters as well. So that is what you are going to do, and this is what I have. You already have all this, so you can just copy and paste or type it out yourself, as I used to say. So let's go to create the invoice model, the invoice service. Yes, so let's go to invoice service. Right now it is empty, so let's copy from maybe how about copying from state service? Yeah, so let me open state service and then use it to create the invoice service. So I'm going to copy everything from the state service, copy, and then paste it into the invoice service, and then change everything there from state to invoice. So I'm going to Control F on my keyboard and change from state to invoice, and I'm going to say replace all. Do the same thing for the uppercase. Control F and change it to invoice and replace all. Alright, so we are done with this. Another thing I want you to do, or the next thing we need to do, is to create the invoice controller, and we are going to use the state controller as well to create the invoice controller. So let's go right into the controllers package. So there's a controller package. I'm going to go to invoice controller and state controller as well. So I'm going to use the state controller to create the invoice controller by copying everything from the state controller into the invoice controller, and then replacing the state, Control F, replace, find the state and replace with invoice. Right, so I'm going to click on replace all, close, and the uppercase as well. I'm going to say Control F, replace it with invoice as well, and I'm going to just replace all. And the next thing I'm going to do right now is to check, is there any other item, any other data that we need to send to the HTML page. We need to send the client list across the HTML page. So together with the invoice list, we also need the client list. So instead of country, I'm going to just change this to client service, because client service is going to give us a list of clients to be able to display on the drop-down list in invoice. So let me just show you, because I think I worked on it on a different place. So if I go to HTTP localhost port 8081. So basically I'm opening the completed application so that you can see this is completed application. So if I go to the account invoices, and you can see that the invoices will need the list of the clients. So that is why we need to send the list of the clients from the controller together with the list of the invoice across to the template. So I'm going to do this in one line. So instead of doing this, let me just put this right here. Okay, so I'm going to just get rid of this line, and I'm going to do the same thing for this one. So here, instead of country service, instead of country list, we are sending client list. Make no mistake about it. Instead of the country list, we are sending the client list. So here I'm going to specify client service.get client. Client service, let me just delete this. If I'm too fast, please pause the video and try to get your head around it. Get clients, yes, okay, good. So hopefully, I think everything should be fine. We build the invoice service and we build the invoice repository. And now we are going to the HTML page. Yeah, save. We are going to the HTML page to work on the HTML page. So let's go to the SRC main resources and open the templates folder. Open the templates folder, and we are going to open the invoice.html invoice management page. That is fine. So I'm going to scroll down to the body of the page where I'm actually going to put the table. So we are going to be putting the table right here, okay, so right here we're going to put the table inside the page/page. Now you have the HTML page I sent you. You already have it, so you can check. But if not, you can open something else. You can open, let's say, location and copy whatever. Let me just do it at once. So let me open location. And if I go down location, I'm going to go to where I have the table. So you can see page end here, and you have page start here. Copy everything from page end to page start, and you put it right inside page end to page start on invoice. And after, maybe I just do it. Let me copy everything from here. So I'm going to just say copy, and I'm going to just paste it here. Control V. After pasting it, you now decide what do you want to display on the table. So in this case, we want to display the attributes of an invoice. So if we go back to the models, to the invoice model, we can actually check. We have the client, we have the invoice date, we have the invoice status, we have the remarks. So we want to decide what to display. So here you can say for invoice in invoices instead of location in locations. So basically what I normally do is to just select it and also do Control Find and replace location with invoice. But in this case, I want to copy it and paste from where I already have it. So you try to type it out yourself instead of copying and pasting. So for me, I'm going to simply copy and paste. So I'm going to use invoice ID, date, client, and remarks. So let's see. So I have it right in my clipboard, and this is not correct. So let me just replace it for you. Instead of pasting, just adjust it by editing this page and replacing unless anything that is not necessary. So here we are taking the invoice date, the client, the remark, and action. Now pay attention. I'm going to explain something very, very, very important. An invoice has a client, and a client has a name. So in this case, we have invoice.client.name, because if we want to display the name of the client and not the ID of the client. So have the invoice.client.name. If you want to display the remarks or whatever about the client or the ID, but it's better display, you display the client name. So that's why we have two references in here. You reference the client and then reference the name. All right. Finally, we need to go down and make sure that the invoice, the JS page, sorry, we want to make sure that the invoice script is added here. So script src equals JS and invoice. By convention, we give the name of the script the same as the name of the page, but lowercase, .js and /scripts. All right, so this is what you should do. And finally, we need to take the last type, and the last type is simply to create the script. So normally I copy one script and then use it to create the script I need. So let's go into the JS folder. JS folder, I have a country script. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it and rename it. Actually, I'm pasting a copy of it, so I'm not actually altering the original one. I'm creating a new file. In this case, it's going to be invoice.js. Okay, I'm going to save. Okay, so now we're going to open the script and then adjust it. So I'm going to open the invoice.js script. So here we have the edit and we have the deletes. Maybe I'm just going to adjust this code so that it looks compact. Delete button, when you click on it, and then it displays the delete modal. So basically, prevent default means it doesn't open a page and return a JSON. And here you are getting the href attribute of the button, of the delete button on the table, which contains the URL queries parameter, the ID of the item that was clicked. Because if you are trying to delete, you also need to send the URL, the parameter of the item, which is the ID of the particular item that was clicked. If this makes sense for you, that's good. If not, leave me a comment. Let me know where you have challenges. So at this point, this code, I'm going to modify it. But instead of modifying it, I'm going to just copy and I'm just going to replace it so that I can save time for you. Adjust it, change up all this to the correct one, and then it's fine. So for me, I already did it, so I'm just going to paste it. Okay, so going back to invoice. Okay, so that's fine. So what else do we need to do? At the pop-up, the modal forms has not been created. Let me see. Okay, again, there's another thing I'd like to mention. This is location. Another thing I'd like to mention, if you want to display the status, so you can have invoice.status.description, because that is what we have. So because if we go to invoice status here, invoice status has description, and that may be what you want to display. So that's something else. So we need to specify the modal, the add modal, the edit modal, and the delete modal. So that I already explained to you how to do it. So I'm just going to copy it and paste in here. Where to put the modal is simply before the script at the end. So I'm going to just paste. So this is the add modal. So in the add modal, we have invoices, add new. This is the endpoint where we're going to submit the form. And new invoice, you have the ID. Take note that the ID has to be disabled for adding new items. You don't need to send the ID. Once you send the ID, it's going to create a new item. If you send the ID, it's not going to create a new item. It's going to try to update an existing item. Okay. But when you are doing an update, you need to send the ID. But instead of disabled, make it read-only. For edit modal, the ID has to be read-only. For add, the ID has to be disabled. If it's disabled, then it's not getting signed to the server. It's not going to be signed to the server. And that is what we want to do each time we are creating a new resource or a new item. Alright, so the next thing I'm going to paste now is the edit modal. Let me paste it because I have it on my clipboard. So you already know all of this. This is the Bootstrap form. I showed you how to get it from the Bootstrap website before now. And finally, the delete modal. Now there's something about the details modal we are going to be talking about a little later. For now, let's focus on the delete modal. In case you want to know, the details modal is the same as the edit modal, but everything on the details modal should be read-only, right? So I'm going to paste the delete modal. So the details modal, as I mentioned, is basically like the let me just copy it as well and paste because I already have it. Let me just paste it here. So this is the details modal, but in details modal you don't put in submit form because you don't expect anyone to submit the details view. Alright, so have that in mind. So here we have 4 modal items. We have add model, edit model, details model, and delete model. Now we almost completed the invoice item. So I'm going to save, and I'm going to relaunch this application. Hopefully it's going to work. We should be able to create a new invoice and update. And finally, before I do that, let me just tell you about the invoice dates. Okay, so now let's talk about the date a bit for a minute. Okay, for a minute first, the first thing you need to know is that when we get to the add model, you have to set the type of the input. Input type is gonna be date right here. Now when you are fetching the content of the box or of the text field, you have, now we have this item is invoice details coming from the database, and when we say var invoice date is equal to invoice at invoice date, the substring 0 to 10. Now this invoice at invoice date substring 0 to 10 selects only the date part. The first 10 characters on the date is the date part, and anything beyond that is a time, okay, and microsecond, millisecond, and stuff like that. We don't want anything to do with that, because the date picker that is on the form, the date picker, I'm going to just show you the date picker. Okay, I already closed it. The date picker only requires you to specify the date and not the date and the time. So you need to first get a substring of the invoice date coming from the database, because if it's coming from the database or from the repository, it contains both the date and the time and the fraction of the time and stuff like that. So we need to get a substring, extract only the date part. So that's the explanation in case you see it ever in any other part of the code. So I'm going to save and I'm going to relaunch this application, and let's go test it. So after this, we can now proceed with something else. Maybe we can now start working on HR items, maybe suppliers. We've worked on clients, and we can work on suppliers after now. So I'm gonna go back home. This is back home, and I'm gonna go to account, invoices, and we have the invoices, and I'm gonna add new, and now select client. It doesn't display the client. That is, invoice status doesn't show. Okay, so invoice status doesn't show, the client doesn't show as well. So let's go to the controller to check. Meanwhile, if I hit F12 on my keyboard, it tells me everything is okay. Okay, so refresh, F12, everything is fine. Okay. For some reason, these buttons, okay, doesn't show. Okay, so let's go to the controller to see. I'm going to go to invoice controller to see why it's not sending the list of clients and the list of invoice status. So, okay, so you see countries, that's typo. So this is going to be clients, and I'm also going to send list of invoice status. So I'm going to paste another one. So I'm going to say invoice statuses is going to be invoice status service, invoice status service, service dot get. So this is trying to give me some intelligence. Let's see, give it a second. Okay, dot get statuses. Alright, so this is fine, and I'm going to also auto wire the invoice status service right here. Alright, so I'm going to just paste this right here, and this is going to be invoice status service, invoice status service. What is happening to me? Invoice status service. Okay, good. All right, so okay, so at this point we can get all the invoice status across to the template, to the HTML template. Our invoice status service that get status is fine now. Change to get invoice statuses. Okay, that's a typo. So save everything, relaunch the application, and by this time I'm sure we have all the problems solved. So when the application starts, let's see. Okay, Tomcat starts. Let's see. Okay, perfect. All right. So Control, F5 to refresh the page and add new. Now I can have all the clients are listed here, so I can select the dates. This is this day. Invoice status is invoice overdue because the state is already passed. The invoice is hired some trucks. Truck. Save. Alright, so we have invoice status created. I can actually edit. Now when I click on edit, it goes here. So I can press F12 to just check where this problem is coming from. When I click on this, it doesn't work. So the problem of this is coming from it should be coming from the invoice.html page. Going down, JS invoice, the JS. So you can see script src equals. So there's an error somewhere here. Let's see, undefined attribute src. So it's gonna be src, not scr. So that's very strange. So let me relaunch it, and I think by now everything should be fine. If you have any challenges, let me know. If you are joining for the first time, leave a subscribe. And also, if this makes sense to you, please give me a thumbs up, like my video, and also tell me what you think I need to do better, or some recommendations you have. Let's do this together. All right, so I'm refreshing my page again. F5 to refresh, and now I click on the edit button, and you can see it's fine. So I'm gonna page update. And I'm gonna add new. This time, gonna add, select invoice overdue, and perfect some full. Alright, so let me just show you something. Now you can see that it doesn't select the invoice status. So it means that we have an error somewhere. Let me just show you how to correct an error that happens in this way. So the problem is coming from, you can first check in the edit, you can check the edit model. You can check the drop-down list that holds the status. So go down here, check the drop-down list that holds the status. So you can see invoice status ID, have DDL invoice status ID, DDL invoice status edit, and have invoice status ID. If I go to my JavaScript, I have invoice status ID, so DDL status edit. So you can see DDL status edit as against DDL invoice status edit. So this is what we are going to use, not DDL status edit. So just copy this and use it to replace this. So at this point, it's going to work perfectly well. So I'm actually going to stop here. I'm going to thank you for viewing. We've worked on globals, we've worked on accounts, and now we've worked on we worked on clients. Now the next thing we are going to be working on is suppliers. So we see in the next part.